Why waste any time? You know why you're here. We know why you're here. Asif had hands-on with the Nintendo Switch 2, and we talk about his experience for about 2 hours. It's a juicy one. It's a strange show. Really no format. We're just talking for a while about this fancy new console. So no further delay. Let's kick it off.
Yes, Joe, you go ahead. You wanted to say this independent of my thoughts. We didn't even talk about really our thoughts independently. So you wanted to preface something with Asif. And I actually was saying, I was going to text you guys a couple hours ago with the same sort of thing because I don't want it. I don't want to be shitty. So, Joe, you go first. Go.
Well, to be honest with you, I was going to say I had the street chalupas was what I was going to say.
Oh, street chalupas. Dude.
Holy shit.
How delicious.
But in terms of table setting for they were good. What? They were not perfect. They were overcooked. And so like it was a B minus, but still good. As
That's
far as
South
today
Plainfield
goes,
Taco Bell though. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it was Island, but close enough.
Man.
As far as today's topic goes, I am going to table set, not to couch anything. I'm coming from the perspective of I was not in attendance. I thought it was I'm coming out of this, I was telling John, a 2 out of 10. I have.
What the fuck?
That's where I'm at. I'm open-minded. And for someone that was hands-on, which I'm eager to hear about, who's clearly not at a 2 out of 10, it's like, help me get there. What did I miss? Don't tell me right now.
This is
that's
the
what the
cold
show's
open.
about.
This is the spiciest cold open I've ever heard. Taco Bell had a B minus, first of all. That's the travesty.
That's crazy.
And then I will agree with you, 2 out of 10, absolute 3 times.
You guys are out of your fucking mind.
I will say, no, hold on. And we're not going to disrespect, any opinions here. I think it's very interesting.
I'm not being a hater.
A 2? Mm-hmm. What is it? Show me on the Switch 2 packaging where Nintendo touched you. Like, what the fuck happened?
It's the 500 simoleons per Switch 1.2. You know what I mean?
Shack together in America on the internet where tariffs run wild. If this is your first time joining us, God help you. This is going to be a hell of an episode. Shack Together, the Shack News video game podcast featuring myself, your host, CEO, EIC, EIEIO of Shack News, Asif Khan. My co-host John Benjamin's here. And our producer Joe Stasio's here. And deep in my heart, you know what's in my heart right now? It's Donkey Kong. Just right there. Because, man, I like good video games, guys. I don't know about you. I really like good video games. And that's a good video game. Anyway, Switch 2 got announced. This whole show's about Switch 2. We're not going to talk about anything else. We will talk about tariffs because they directly impacted this announcement. But I don't know. Where do we want to start? Switch 2 launches.
Well, you really should start with, you are on premises. That's important.
I am in New York City. I haven't been on assignment in 5 years. I haven't been to New York City in 8 years, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
So the last time I was here was for the Switch 1, and now I'm here for Switch 2. I've been to New Jersey in the interim. I went to our Extra Life Guild had an event at the Rutgers University Hospital.
New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Yeah, that's right. I was in New Brunswick in 2020. It was actually the last trip I ever took before this. So I've been out on the East Coast since then, but this is my first time back in the city. I was invited to the Switch 2 hands-on event, which is being held at the same place where the experience is going to be held in New York City. I got hands-on with the Nintendo Switch. I got to sit there and watch the direct with a bunch of games journalists, I guess. And then immediately afterwards got to get my hands on the device. I played it in handheld. I played it in docked mode. I held the JoyCons. I used the grip controller. I used the Pro controller. I played it in mouse mode. I even played that really crappy, basketball wheelchair, whatever the hell that game was. I played that. I got to play Tears of the Kingdom at 60 frames per second in 4K. Cool. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So Where do you guys want to start?
I'm curious because it sounds like, man, oh man, what a barn burner of a presentation when you're in that room. How is the reaction of the people and just the vibe in that room? Because, look, we're paupers, we're looking at the YouTube chat, we're seeing real-time reaction on social media,
I mean,
etc.
I'll
And
tell you, like,
it was mixed generously. It was mixed at best. I'm wondering, like, for
It
me, I was
definitely-
like,
it definitely tilted more
yeah.
positive in the building. I'll be honest with you. It tilted more positive in the building. And now,
But not more positive, like tilting more positive, or was it just straight up positive? Like,
it
be
was straight
for
up
real.
positive.
Yeah.
There you go. That's not tilting. That's
No,
just
I'm
Steve's
saying
journalist
that
being positive.
no. I'm saying that it was positive, but me and the two jaboofers sitting next to me, we kept asking, well, how much does that cost? How much does that cost? It was a direct. Sure. It was a direct that was devoid of price information, and that was concerning to me throughout the entire presentation. I'm like, well, how much is it going to cost to get an enhanced edition of that game? Or how much is that camera going to cost? Or how much does the Switch itself cost? Like, all those things were left out of the presentation. So I'm not going to say that it was a complete presentation without that, but I do think that there's extenuating circumstances that led to that. And it just happened to be the exact same day that the president enacted a bunch of tariffs that affected Japan, that affected China, that affect Vietnam, that affect Korea, and affect Taiwan. And I don't know where the Switch is being built, but I'm going to guess it's one of those countries.
Now, so the tariffs have been talked about for quite a while, and for a while.
It's an escalation that occurred. This is an escalation. We already had tariffs in place in those countries. This is an escalation that just happened.
This is new.
Today.
No, yeah, but so are you telling me that Nintendo somehow had the inside scoop prior, like the market, like, let's say Goldman Sachs, nobody knew about exactly where the tariffs were going to land. The reporting right now is that the tariffs are higher than expected.
That's it.
The Dow futures are off 1,000 points.
The market is crashing. Nvidia's crashing. Tesla's crashing.
Market's crashing.
Yeah.
And I just want to understand, because you're much more knowledgeable about the market and stuff like that. How is this that Nintendo was able to anticipate it so much so that they made the pricing? They didn't put it in the pre-recorded video.
Yeah.
But they put it out there minutes afterwards, hours and hours prior to Trump saying that these things are higher than expected or whatever. These tariffs that were expected since, mid of last year when this is all he was talking about, right? So I'm wondering, like, are you laying the tariff piece, like, are you laying this, Nintendo Switch 2 being $450 to $500 with the Mario Kart pack in? Are you laying that all on the tariffs? Or is it a little bit of Nintendo being forever a profit-driven company, and maybe it's a little bit more profit-driven in 2025 than in 2018 or in 2012 or in whatever the heck? Because to me, the hardware seems, is this a $500 piece of hardware, $450 piece of hardware? Tariffs notwithstanding, really? We're at the $400 mark?
John,
like,
correct me if I'm wrong. Did you buy a $700 console last year?
What, the PS5 Pro?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
what? But what?
It
plays, what does it do? What does it do? What does it do? It plays games at 4K. It plays games at 4K 30, right? 4K 30. Am I right? Or are you playing 4K 60? 4K 30. You're playing 4K 30 on a lot of games that are enhanced for PS5. I'm asking, as someone who analyzes video games and someone who owns all three systems, I view them as competitors. They may not, neither company may not, but I'm saying for me, I'm going to put them next to each other and I'm going to say, what can they do? And if both can play games at 4K, and I honestly think the performance of the Switch 2 is better than I expected. That's really what I want to get across.
And that's not a comparison. That's not a fair comparison. Compare it to a PS5 Pro. That would be a fair comparison, because if we're going to compare them and it's going to be competitive, and you're going to say, hey, bought a console for $700. And why? And why? And I'm on Fox News all of a sudden.
No, I'm saying it was anyone who bought it, John. It doesn't matter. John Jaboofer on the side of the road. If they bought the $700 PS5, it has nothing to do with you. They bought the $700 PS5. Sure. That's that's the most expensive console of all time. That was a price signal, is all I'm saying, John. Sony was acting on Trump rhetoric. Like, this whole industry, we're about to see a $100 game this year. And that's what I think people are really going to freak out about. It's called GTA 6. But Nintendo just opened the door to $100 games, basically. And what is going on with the physical game market is directly related to tariffs. Now, this is where I 100% agree with you, John. I wanted to get to this. They are a profit-driven company. And I think that Nintendo erred on the upside. So they're like, okay, this thing's going to cost 30% more than Switch, right? That was before the tariff showed up. They were like, we're going to charge $400 for this. And then they start to see all these rumors about tariffs, and they're like, there was a chance that their margin, which is probably somewhere around $50 or $100 on the system, was about to go to zero because of tariffs. So they increased it. I think they increased it more than they needed to. I 100% agree with that, because they are profit driven. And if by some miracle these tariffs go away, they're not going to lower the price. So that's where you
do, and that's the thing. It's funny. It's like you're right. If the tariffs go away, and when they go away, but if they go away, the pricing is not going to come down. No. And I am thinking about those parents, not that fucking room of games journalists who are going to get all this shit for free, right? Not that room that is ruinous to how we look at this industry sometimes. And, very few people like you who are independent, truly independent. Like, you're an independent dude, obviously. You could say whatever. But, like, the problem is if I'm a parent, or if I'm not a parent, if I'm a kid, and I'm like, the Nintendo Switch 2, $500. That seems like a lot, for especially what they showed off. It didn't seem like it was as gangbusters as maybe it should be. So I'm thinking about the kid who's going to go to the parent and say, hey, mom, dad, 450 or 500 with Mario Kart. It's like, no, in this economy, really? And then what the argument would be, well, tariffs and the Japanese economy and the yen and the dollar. No, poor
all those things
kids.
Like, honestly, I understand the kid gets screwed here. I get it. But we're in the first
Trump,
year.
By Musk, by Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. I'm not arguing. I'm not. I'm saying that I think Nintendo...
That's capitalism. I get it.
Nintendo overcorrected. I think Nintendo overcorrected the price so that they would be profitable even after the tariffs. That's what they did. Because ever since the Wii U, they're like, we will never sell hardware at a loss again, because it's a bad idea. It's bad business. It just is. Like, talk to Microsoft. They won't even tell you how many units they sell, because it's a loss. It's a loss leader for them. Nintendo has to sell at a profit. So, like, I get that. It seemed about $50 too high for me.
It doesn't have to, though. To be fair, it doesn't have to. It wants to. It can, right?
No, it's a company directive.
Oh, for sure. No, it's like,
I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying, I'm not endorsing any of this. I'm just saying this is why they did what they did. I'm not in their board. I'm not on their board.
Look. Yeah, and also that, because you're going to couple that with $80 to $90 software. You're going to couple it with potentially these little upgrades that I think, like, even going from PS4 to PS5 is like a $10 upgrade. I'm not sure what it is for this to go.
They haven't told us, because once again, it's been nebulous, and that's my biggest critique of the whole direct was not a word about price, because I honestly think when they were producing this video, they didn't fucking know.
I agree with that. Of course, dude. They did that.
I'm not making an excuse about the price decision or the communication. I'm just saying that the people who produced that video probably did not know any of the prices of things. And that's a very weird place to be in when you're making a product reveal. Like, I really was sitting there and I'm like, when was the last time I saw a product reveal where I didn't see the price? Like, that's
and the system was like 2 months or 3 months away. That's
bizarre. That's bizarre. But I felt bad about this event the day that Trump announced the escalation of tariffs, because I was like, this is the worst day possible to announce anything. Because like you don't like they had to kind of shoot from the hip, and I think to your point, they shot high so that they're guaranteed to make money even in a very, very bad economic environment.
It's just like a continued, but continued late stage capitalism, man.
But you can't act like Nintendo is this company that is always price gouging. Like the Switch was affordable at $300. The Wii was very affordable at $200. Going into a recession,
I'm not saying that
it's not that they have a track record of always being the highest price point. They're not, and even today they're not. Like that's my point. Is like, God help us when the next Xbox comes out, or the next Xbox handheld that Acer or Asus is making when that comes out, or like the next Steam Deck. I got a bad feeling, guys. Like I got a really bad feeling that every single product that we love is about to go up in price. That's why I bought a MacBook last year.
I think what John and I are feeling though is that, again, we're coming totally watching a YouTube video is the only context we have, and coming out of that YouTube video.
Poorly delivered as well.
I don't want to spend it's not that it's the highest priced. I just don't want to spend that on what I saw. I think that's, or at least that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, no, it's just new paint on similar cars, and
that might not be true, right, John? Like that might not be true.
It might not, and that's why I was
how
like,
it feels.
The one saving grace that I was like, you know what? I felt this was really not great, and I'm seeing the reaction was pretty mixed. I'm like, the one thing that's going to be awesome potentially is Asif going hands-on and saying, you know what, Mario Kart World is something special.
It's fucking awesome.
DK is something special. And
God. Both those games are fucking amazing. Like, so good.
But no. But for real, like, modulate it a little bit, because if you're coming in...
I'm telling you, they're amazing. Yeah. Both those games fucking rule, John. I'm throwing it out there. Like,
so let's hear about it, because
price. Like for 1 second, forget the price.
I know. No, we all want to be. I know. Trust me. You know me from back in Nintendojo days, right? Like where my problem was always price. Always thinking about price. Let's toss that out the window, because I do want to hear about how are these games, man. Like, sell me on this $90 plus $500 and all this and that.
I'm not here. I am not here to sell you.
I don't mean sell me, but like,
I want to just correct that. Like, you just said that. Like, I'm not here to sell anyone.
Right.
If $500,
just convey your enthusiasm.
$450 is too much for you, do not buy this thing. Don't. If $400 is too much for you, don't buy this thing. Or you know what? Wait 2 years and buy the Switch 2 OLED. Because it'll probably be the same price or less.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, what is like Donkey?
I don't mean sell us, but like tell us.
I fucking love Donkey Kong. I've dropped the hot take here that I think he's the most important IP that they have, and this is the first 3D Donkey Kong game. John, while I was playing it, I was like, you know who's gonna fucking love this game? John.
Yeah,
it's a
I was like, this is right up my alley.
It is a collectathon of epic proportions, John. And it also appeals to your boy here, because I love destroying shit. Like, you give me a game and you're like, everything's destructible. It's like platform puzzles that weren't even possible in this game. Yeah. The way I describe this, this podcast is going to come out after the embargo, so I can just say this shit. But like, the way I describe Donkey Kong in my headline, I think kind of nails it. So let me just pull it up real quick, because my brain is fried from playing a billion games today. Donkey Kong Bananza is like Wreck-It Ralph meets Deep Rock Galactic. That is the sentence that describes that game. Have you guys played Deep Rock Galactic at all? It's briefly, like a mining co-op game where it's all about destructible environments. This game is so fucking fun. At its core, man, you're just Donkey Kong and you're fucking shit up. That's fun, right? Like, you can just punch shit, you can dive through shit, you can do this jump and dash down jump. There's side-scrolling levels that I didn't get to play. They hinted that you're going to be able to play as you're going to be able to ride Rambi around in the game. It reminds me a little of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, but it has a scope that's bigger than the Odyssey levels. And you remember how big Mario Odyssey felt, right?
No, I loved
Yeah.
Odyssey. Yeah.
It's like 3 times the size in just
Yeah.
one level, right? So I was taken back by the scope of this. I was like, there's going to be. I instantly thought about how you're the only person I know who actually like 100% of Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
no, I'm seeing it. I'm like, I
I'm like-
hope it's good because, like, what it looked like, it just again, it looked because you're the. That's why I'm reserving judgment on that. Of course, until I hear hands on from you. I thought it looked a little bit. It looked like my type of game. I also know I got a lot of shit for liking collectathons and liking that type of game. And I'm like, are standards going to come down to my level, or is it that this is actually something special, like an Odyssey? Because I found Odyssey to be really such a special Mario game, right?
Obviously I was only playing a vertical slice. The game's coming out soon though, so it was very polished what I played. Like,
Yeah.
this is the best looking 3D platformer Nintendo has ever made.
Mm.
Like, categorically the best.
It should. You hope so, but that's cool.
His fur looks amazing. Like, I've never seen a character in a Nintendo game with that much detail, like, ever. And this is not just in cutscenes. This is while you're playing, and like the wind effect on his body and stuff. Like, it's just, and he's so goddamn expressive in this game. He's like, the game made me laugh. I was smiling the entire time I was playing it. It's just fun, man. And I just want fun video games. Like, that's like, I came here. Yes, I want to critique the company. Like, I'm gonna write an article about should you still own Nintendo stock, right? But that's not what today's about. Like, today's like, I'm going to talk about the games I played and what I played in Mario. Sorry, I'm even calling it Mario, which I think speaks to how similar it is. Like, it's a 3D platformer with Donkey Kong, which is something I've wanted for like 2 or 3 generations. So it's like, it's long overdue. It's fun. And I think it's that Nintendo DNA where they come up with a gameplay mechanic and then they figure out what franchise it is, right? Like, Tears of the Kingdom start out with like this sandbox of different gameplay mechanics, and they're like, hey, you know what? We should make a Zelda game with this. I feel like someone at Nintendo made this destructible environment engine, and they're like, hey, look at this cool destructible environment we have. Hey, what character would work? Donkey Kong, of course, right? And it's magical. It's magical in how that works. But I can't play today's demo and be like, oh yeah, it's gonna have the same scope and size of Odyssey, but it feels like it will. Like, it's either gonna be Kirby and the Forgotten Land or Odyssey, and I don't know which way it's gonna go from here. But if Nintendo is leading with this, I think it's gonna be more on the side of Odyssey than a Kirby. Because we did get a Kirby announcement later.
And I think that's the bellwether. It's a great point. It's like, we don't know yet because obviously, like, you just did the one slice, like you're calling it. But I think that's gonna solidify the potential direction that Nintendo is going in. Either they're going to be very profit driven. And by that, I mean, like, making sure those costs are low so the hardware is not like, you're like, why did you spend $700 on a PS5 Pro? I'm telling you, like, you play something like an Assassin's Creed, or look, I don't have the PC, the awesome PC setup and the NVIDIA and this and that. This is the closest that I'll get to like a really high fidelity, gaming experience right now. I'm not a huge PlayStation fan. I love, Nintendo and Xbox and stuff. I can see what, could they have charged less? I'm sure they could have. I don't know, actually. I don't know the cost of it. But with Switch 2, it just felt like it's a little bit more like, hey, these are a lot of reused parts in a way. It feels very rehashed from a hardware perspective. Where's that 500 going, especially if some of these games, they were leaning very heavily on games that are currently out or, that might have a little bit of an enhancement. So I wanted to just hear the hands-on. And if Donkey Kong is like an Odyssey, then it's like, no, Nintendo's not trying to screw around.
I think that they did. The fact that they didn't tease a Mario game today, John, says a lot that they're not just trying to drive profits. Because if you want to drive profits, you show us some kind of Mario gameplay
But
today.
that would count. But I was thinking that until they
You're
showed Donkey
talking
Kong.
about Kart, yeah. But also
Well,
Kart.
no, Donkey Kong, and Kart. Well, Kart, I think I'm like, you know what? That's a cool step up. That's not just a sequel. I'm like, okay, open world and this and that. That seems really neat.
That's a video game right there.
So tell us about that one. Like, what was that one about?
Yeah, I'll talk about Kart. So I got to play basically 3 different ways in Kart. The first way, I just want to shout out the JoyCon. They don't suck anymore.
Nice.
Like, holy crap. You know what I never used? The what are they called? The grip controller? I hate that thing.
Oh, yeah.
The thing with the rope on it?
Fuck that thing. Fuck that thing. Specifically, the Switch grip controller sucks ass. You're hearing me say that before I say this. Guess what doesn't suck ass? The Switch 2 grip controller. What the fuck? It's actually good. It fits in my hand. I didn't hate it. It's actually a fun way to play. I was shocked by that. I was fucking shocked by that.
And that comes with a system. That's not, you're not talking about.
Yeah. That's packed in on the system, right? So you don't have to buy the Pro controller, which probably costs more now because everything fucking costs more now. My fucking cheese is going to cost more now. But so I played, it was like a 1v1 race online with someone else who was next to me on another station. We played split screen. So I played split screen with this guy from Tom's Hardware, and I was kicking his ass or whatever. But it's definitely a higher look. I'm a very good racing game player. I don't know if you guys have heard about this F-Zero 99 game.
Sure.
But yeah, I didn't win on my first try, so that pissed me off. I got 3rd place. There's more characters. The detail. It once again, these are the largest Mario Kart tracks you'll ever see, and there's this overworld where you're driving between races that kind of feels like Forza Horizon, also kind of feels like Burnout Paradise a little. That they're creating something different. Like, I'm so glad this isn't Mario Kart 9 and it's just more of the same. This is very large in scope. 2 major gameplay changes. There's like the hover mechanic. They got rid of it.
Great. Good.
So that's gone, but you can still wall ride, which is cool. You can barrel roll, and in the air, you can trigger, like, instead of a glider, you get wings, and you're actually like flying around in a plane for a little bit.
That's cool.
I thought that was really cool. Also, there's a lot of water in the world of Mario Kart World. When you drive, historically in 8 Deluxe, when you drive into water, you instantly sink, right? And it's underwater level.
Sure.
It turns you into a hovercraft now. So there's this whole hovercraft gameplay that I don't think has ever existed in this game. So there's elements of the game that made me think of Diddy Kong Racing, and I love Diddy Kong Racing. Sure. And I just think that those 2 things, the water mechanics and the air mechanics and that side, the wall riding, all of that's going to lead to really interesting levels. So I got to play 1v1 on it, and that was fun. I came back after the round table, and I got to play by myself, and I played as the cow on a motorcycle, and I got 1st place. It's great. And then I got to play the 24-person battle royale mode. I can't remember the name of it.
How cool was that?
As someone who likes F-Zero 99, I would not say it's that cool. As someone who has never played 23 other people in Kart, it's pretty cool. But man, it is like, I'm a racer at my heart. And when you are in 1st place and there's 23 asshole games journalists behind you, you're fucked. You're so fucked. Like, there's blue shells coming. There's gold shells coming. Every possible weapon is coming your way. It's like you are in danger if you're in 1st place in that mode. But it's really fun, man.
Did I see grinding? Is there grinding, like Tony Hawk
you
style?
Can grind. There's like rails, and you can grind. Yeah, it's the locomotion in this game is definitely different. The pace is different. The power slide feels grippier. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, it's less slidey and it's more grippy. Like, you can do like hairpin turns with this new power slide, which I like. And obviously it depends on the vehicle you're using. I played as Yoshi, I guess my main, but then I also tried Cow, because Cow, you can play as the cow from fucking Moo Moo Meadows.
That's great.
Like, so there's a lot of like fan service shit in this game. Like, you can play as Biker Mario or Biker Bowser and it's Biker Wario and Biker Bowser and like all these different characters and all these different vehicles. It's just more of the customization that I think people liked in 8, but the levels are huge. The graphics are materially better. A trend, we're talking about the lack of transparency at Nintendo with respects to price in the Direct. I feel the same way about the demos that I was doing today, guys, where like every demo I played, I asked a very simple question. What resolution is this running at and how many frames per second? And they just wouldn't tell me. And that's really, really unfortunate. Because like, if that's one of your biggest selling points, why don't you have that information at every station, right?
Yeah.
Especially for an event like what you were at.
Yeah.
It's very relevant.
It's an information gathering event for press. Like, why wouldn't you have that information readily available unless it's not known or it's variable?
No, I think it's because the answer is something that y'all
we would pick on. We would pick on. We'd be like, oh, this is only running at 2K or this is running at 1080p. But like, so that's basically my card experience. I got to play, I played the single player experience twice. I played it in handheld. Guys, I don't really play in handheld anymore. Joe, I know you like handheld. That's a very nice LCD 1080p screen, but it supports HDR for the first time.
So how did it look to you? Like do you have an OLED Steam Deck?
Yeah. Yes. Better.
So what? Yeah. It looks better than the OLED Steam Deck?
Steam Deck's at 800p. This is 1080p.
Sure.
So the resolution's better.
Okay.
And the HDR,
the vibrance and all that?
I think the HDR compensates for the lack of vibrance from going from OLED to LCD. But I also think that we're probably 2 years away from a switch to OLED. And maybe by then, everything that's going on will have, maybe Nintendo will have failed with this launch and they'll have to, go back to the drawing board and they'll come up with a better value product down the road. Because one thing that they do all the time is tax early adopters. You look at the 3DS launch, for example, that was not great hardware that they had to revise within, I think, a year and a half or something. And they did that whole apology tour with the Nintendo Club or whatever they did.
Yeah.
So it's possible that we'll see that, but I was impressed with the feel of the device. It wasn't materially heavier. The JoyCons are much better. The connection.
Are they wobbly?
No. And I saw a lot of people talking about that online. The one, I went to one station where it's literally the station where they were showing you the magnet function. And it was like you could bend it a little bit, but like the Joy-Con jank on like a regular Switch?
Sure.
That's not there.
Good.
And the removal and the reattachment of it, I think, is done pretty elegantly. When you click on the button to remove it, plastic actually raises out of the Joy-Con to push it off of the device. So everyone's worried about the connector breaking. I don't think that's possible because the way that it ejects, by the time you click that button, you're not going to break the connector anymore. So I think it's actually well designed in that sense. Because, they've had 8 years of people telling them their Joy-Con connection sucks. So I think they fixed that. Now, I think that one model that everyone was removing and putting the Joy-Cons on for probably several hundred times today, it definitely was more wobbly than the other stations that I was at where they had handheld. So I'll give them that. Now, maybe that might be bad for the future, right? Because everyone is going to detach and reattach your Joy-Cons. I just said the grip controller doesn't suck, so you're probably going to do it more than you did with your current Switch. So yeah, I don't know. I played Kart in handheld. I played it on TV in what I think looked like 4K. I can't be sure because they wouldn't fucking tell me, which I think is really fucking weird. Because the other thing, so yeah, I don't know. Do you have any questions about Kart before we move on to another game? But because they didn't really show me a whole lot. It was just 2 modes basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks fantastic, honestly.
Yeah,
if there's any standout of the show, it's
that
Mario Kart.
I honestly, when I got to the Donkey Kong demo, they said, "So what's your favorite game that you've played so far?" And I was like, "Well, that's a really unfair question because I fucking love Donkey Kong," And I was like, I don't want to say until afterwards. So after I played Donkey Kong, my favorite game that I played at the show was Donkey Kong. Before I played Donkey Kong, my favorite game at the show was Mario Kart World. It's
How many games did you play?
Oh, like total games? I played Cyberpunk 2077. Woof. I played.
No, I want to know.
Okay.
Don't.
So
yeah,
here's the woof. Here's the woof. It's very much an alpha vertical slice. So I'm V, and I was playing. It was definitely the DLC mission with Idris or whatever. And there's this lady, and she's talking to me, and I can't ignore it. Her hair looked terrible. I was like, "What the fuck's wrong with her hair?" And the person demoing it said, "Yeah, we've heard that from everyone today."
Oof.
And I'm like, that's just weird to me, John, because I just talked about how wonderful Donkey Kong's fur looked, right? So it's not.
Isn't that always the way with Nintendo first party versus third party?
They're really good at polishing shit, for sure.
Yeah.
But also, let's not forget that Cyberpunk has a track record of launching like complete dog shit. So
that's fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest here. Do you remember the T poses and shit? Like, let's not act like Cyberpunk is some polished game.
No, it's gorgeous.
It has
now,
issues,
but
after
it took
5
a while.
Years, it took 5 years, and now it's a wonderful game. And I hope they take my feedback, because I was not hiding it. I was like, what the? I go, like, right when I started talking to this lady who's giving me a mission, I'm like, what's wrong with her hair? Like, it looked funny. It looked like textures from like a PS2 all of a sudden. And it was just striking after I was playing these other games. So yeah, I played Cyberpunk. There's one game.
And sorry, Asif, you don't think it was it potentially like a upscaler making it look bad?
Possibly. It could have been DLSS missing a texture or something. Yeah.
Because we don't actually know. There's no PR on that, right?
They were not telling us. That was the other thing. Going back, like, John, like, I'm with you, man. Like, I want more communication. They did not tell us what game was using DLSS or which game was actually running natively in 4K. They didn't tell us how big are these fucking cartridges. How are you going to fit 4K games on these cartridges? Right? Like,
we got some info in the aftermath on that.
How big are the cartridges?
Not how big they are. The implication is that they're not bigger, because a lot of games are going to have that game key card within, where there is no content on the card. It's just a license.
So, like, physical media might die this generation on Switch, which goes back to your point, John. If they're charging fucking $90 for a physical game and it isn't even physical, that's gouging, and that's bullshit. But I don't think first-party Nintendo games are going to do that. I think it'll be more third-party. But yeah, like, okay, so I played Cyberpunk. I played Street Fighter 6. It runs great. Yeah. Street Fighter 6 runs great, and that's an RE engine game, which means that Resident Evil 4 remake will probably get ported over, and 2 and 3, why not? I think Monster Hunter Wilds could run on this thing. Because I'm basing that all on the fact that Street Fighter 6 ran extremely well, and they're going to support crossplay with the current, other gen, right? Xbox, Steam, and PlayStation 5. So Street Fighter ran well. So those are a couple of third-party games I played. I didn't waste my time and play Civ 7, because I'm like, I played it on PC. I know what it is. It's just the demo was really showcasing the mouse, right? But what I want to talk about that I haven't yet is Metroid Prime 4. I played Metroid Prime 4. It was the only game at the entire event that had prominently displayed the resolution you were playing in and the frame rate. Guys, I played a Nintendo game at 120 FPS.
Legally.
And I want to tell you, I want more games at 120 FPS. Here's one game I want, guys. I want F-Zero NX 120 frames per second, 1080p. I don't care about 4K if you're going to give me 120 FPS, because that is lovely on a fucking Nintendo system. Wow. Metroid Prime 4 is fucking awesome.
What was the resolution? Like you said, 1080,
it was 1080p. 1080p. So it's what you've seen, John, on all of these directs, right? Which is gorgeous, because Nintendo art directors are great.
And was that like your first, like, is that considered a switch to enhanced game?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I'll get to a couple more of those, because hint, There's 2 other games I haven't mentioned yet that, John, you haven't beaten, and this is the system to finally fucking play Zelda on. Oh my God! Please, John, please,
Hey,
Tears
man,
of the Kingdom. For the love of God,
you know me.
it's
hey, man,
so good. Joe, you know how shitty Ultra Hand was?
Oh,
You know how
awful.
the frame rate would drop to like 20 or 15 or 10?
Absolutely.
60 frames per second Ultra Hand. Finally. And I get it that it's 2 years fucking later. But like when I sat there and I was at the fucking round table and I had the technical director of Zelda explaining all of all the tech they're using, it's wonderful playing Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm watching it right now. It looks
at
great.
60 FPS. Like,
I bet.
oh my God, it was delightful. But back to Metroid. The only demo that they had set up required you to use Joy-Cons, right? So I'm not super excited as a first person shooter player, but it's the mouse demo. So left hand, you're using it like a regular controller, right? Your analog's moving you around. You can scan with the shoulder buttons and stuff. Right hand is down on the table using it like a mouse. This is where the 120 FPS really, really shined. Because I'm turning around like I'm turning like I was in Quake in 1996. You know what I mean? I'm like on a dime. Nice. And like the locomotion was just so much better. But the holy shit moment was when I accidentally picked the thing up and it switched. The Switch Joy-Con detects when you're in mouse mode or when you're in regular mode. And there's no, I have to pause the game. No, it just switches back. It's like, you're playing in regular mode now.
Cool.
I thought that was like, what? That's kind of crazy. The other thing, this is the Shack Together podcast. So here's the Steve Jobs story. When they built the original mouse for the Apple II, I want to say it was the Mac or the Apple II. One of the specs that he gave was like, he wants to be able to use it on his jeans, right? You can use the Switch, the right Joy-Con or the left Joy-Con on whatever fabric, on your couch, on your clothes, on your pants leg, anywhere, in any orientation. I thought it actually worked extremely well.
And it felt like if you're an avid PCer, so you would know, like no downgrade, like it felt like a mouse.
It felt exactly like a mouse.
That's cool. Yeah, nice.
And that's like, God, Nintendo is so known for their stupid fucking gimmicks that they shove into shit, right? This is definitely a gimmick, and that Drag X Drive is a perfect example of the gimmicky version of it. But playing a game like Civ or playing this, like those are 2 really good examples, I think, of how the mouse will be good in this world. And like, I feel like that would apply to Doom. That would apply to. I really think they missed. Like, where the fuck was the Mario Maker? Because like, even to show us Mario, right. Like Mario Maker 2 Enhanced, right, would have been a perfect demo for that thing. But like so many times when Nintendo's like, here's HD Rumble, I'm like, that's stupid. HD Rumble was actually useful in this game. Like they use it when you're moving the mouse around. It actually, Rumble and a mouse is kind of different. You know, like,
sure.
I've never really experienced that before. It actually added to the immersion. I felt more connected to that Metroid Prime game than I have any other one. Because, we went from the era of the Wii, right? You're pointing at the screen with the Wii, and you had the other lasso analog in your other hand, right? That felt like too much effort. This is like a lazy computer gamer, PC gamer would enjoy this. That was honestly one of the best demos I played at the whole show. 120 FPS, 1080p, cool. And they were transparent about it, right? Everywhere else, it was like, who knows? You'll have to find out. So yeah, on to Zelda, because I maintain, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Tears of the Kingdom is the best video game ever made. It may not be your favorite game. It may not be my favorite game. But the amount of gameplay systems that they put together in that game and how they all interact, I think it's the best game ever made.
Yeah, that's fair.
And now it runs at 60 FPS, I think, at 4K, I think, and with ray tracing, I think. Wow. I'm not entirely sure. The technical director of the game said that Nintendo supports, the Switch 2 supports ray tracing. But of course, they wouldn't say what games use it, what games don't.
Right.
Tears of the Kingdom was a gorgeous game on Switch, on 7-year-old hardware, it's outstanding on Switch 2. Now, I get it. It's a game that was already out, but this is the one. There's 2 examples of Nintendo actually rewarding people who have Switch Online. Both of those Switch 2 edition upgrades are free if you have Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack, which I do. So day one, I will have both of those games running better than they ever have on Nintendo hardware. So those are 2 first-party games that are obviously Switch 2 enhanced that I thought were outstanding demos. And that's not something that I think is going to come across on a video. I also heard that the Nintendo Direct itself, the stream went down during the stream, right? How
the
long
audio was lagging the whole time.
Yeah, right.
That's that's not a good presentation.
So that's something, John, that like I did not know until the very end of the stream, because I'm in the room, I'm seeing what I think was probably just an MP4 being played locally, right? So I did not see those issues. So I could understand how people would be like, that was a terrible direct, given all of that technical issues. I didn't know that was happening. Like when I was reacting to shit,
part of it.
Like as I'm reacting to shit, I'm not seeing that. And then like this guy next to me is like, yeah, my Slack's blowing up. Like it went down. And I pull up Shaq's Slack and I see the same thing. I'm like, oh, that happened. Like we discovered that was happening about 2/3 into it. And at that point, like, you know, we'd already seen Mario Kart Tour. We were already excited about that. And then I think it came back online in time for the Donkey Kong reveal. But some of the other stuff, like the Hollow Knight, Silksong, 4 seconds of Silksong. I don't know if you guys got to see it. I did.
We missed Astroneer and Final Fantasy VII. I did not see that. Yeah.
There you go. And that sucks. Yeah. But I can tell you the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade looked materially better than what I played of Cyberpunk today. And I kind of consider them both very visually appealing games, right?
Yeah, and came out the same year too. So
yeah, so I think that they're fair to compare each other. Intergrade came out a little later, but whatever. It's this, same engine.
That's true.
But the Intergrade wasn't there. I didn't play the Mario Party demo. I was just like,
wow. You get it.
I'm like, good for them. Like, you kids have fun over there.
Was the FromSoft game there?
No. Elden Ring wasn't there, and the new FromSoft game wasn't there. I think that's a huge get, by the way. Like
that was the biggest pop in our chat. The new FromSoft game.
It was too. I would say the Shack staff is a bunch of From Software fans, so a lot of people are like, "Holy shit, Bloodborne 2, Bloodborne 2." I was like, "It can't be Bloodborne 2." But yeah,
might as well be.
It might as well be. It looks really cool. I think that's great. I think if Nintendo's reaching into their pocket and saying, "Hey, have money, exclusive, please," and someone like From Software who make extremely good video games and they're always polished as all hell, if they're confident in making a game of that quality on the Switch, like guys, like what did you want? 8K, 500 FPS, like 4K, 60 FPS games on a Nintendo device is, it might be like 5 years late, but at least we fucking have it. Because my fear was that they were going to do it. They were going to do us dirty again. And it was going to be like, you get 1080p, 60 FPS.
Yeah.
Like, I thought they were going to do it.
Can I tell you where I'm coming from with the sort of boredom of this? Because I think I have a pretty sober outlook on it. I'm explicitly not trying to be cynical about it. I'm not trying to be a hater. I don't feel jaded necessarily. What I think the net outcome of watching this hour, and that's all I had, right? I didn't have the hands-on, and I freely admit that probably would have changed my viewpoint, if I'm playing Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong and seeing like this next gen with clear eyes, seeing this next gen Nintendo. Without that, the viewing experience of this direct was okay, another third-party release of a game I have not only played but really liked, and I'm invested 60 hours in. I'm not going back. I'm not going back to that one. Not going back to this one. Not going back to Final Fantasy. Not going back to Cyberpunk. Hollow Knight we already knew about. Deltarune we already knew about. Kirby Air Riders. So cool that Sakurai's not making Smash. It's another racing game. I felt they were a little paper cuts on every announcement that could have been, look at this thing you've never seen before, like Donkey Kong Bananza. I've never seen that before. It's a franchise that hadn't gotten the 3D treatment in a long time. That qualifies in my mind as an announcement that's not necessarily out of left field, but it's like you're thirsty for that kind of thing. And there was so little of things that check that box of, I didn't see it coming, or this wasn't possible before, or it's been ages since we've gotten one of these. That kind of announcement, I thought it was really light in that department, and a lot of better hardware. Now you can play all this stuff you've already played before, and that's great. And I'm glad it can do that. And that sounds like it sounds like I'm being shitty the way I'm phrasing that. It is great that the next Nintendo Switch will be able to play sort of the industry standard of resolution, however you want to phrase that. It can handle sort of that baseline third-party game now. It's in some form. Maybe it's not quite 4K and it's doing a 2K thing. Fine. I'm not ragging on that. Just to be clear, if it is coming in a little light there,
the thing that I felt, it's just the thing that I felt, Joe, was like, I don't think Deltarune should have had that much time on the Direct. It should have been part of the hype reel.
I don't know, man. Hold on. The Deltarune thing, that felt like that was selling systems right there.
I think so.
Just
too.
So you know, like I felt like that was really, which is interesting to me. I was like, Nintendo,
it's an indie game. You know what I mean? Like, it's no offense to indies. I'm just saying, like, this is a Nintendo product launch event, and I can only name like 3 first-party titles that I got to play today.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So does that outlook make sense? What I was getting at?
But let's go back in time to 2017 and think about that launch lineup. It was Breath of the Wild, Snipper Clips, and 1-2 Switch.
I think this is a great analog.
Breath of the Wild is it's a great analog, because Mario Kart and Odyssey came out very soon after, and then Smash Brothers as well. These were very. We
also had Splatoon 2. We had Splatoon 2 that summer.
No, I think we're skipping something here, though. I think we're skipping something. Sorry, John. I know I'm cutting you off.
No, please.
The first Switch had the benefit of extreme novelty that is not present this time.
Yeah, and this is very much the iPhone 3G. It's not sexy. We put a different mode in it.
I'm trying to say that that's not explicitly a problem. No. But when watching the Direct, that's a problem. I'm not saying it's a problem for the product. I'm saying when it comes to ingesting this Direct, it's a bunch of seen this before. And I don't know what else they could have done. I mean that. I really am not trying to be a jackass.
They could have shown more.
They could have shown more. Too, John. It came out closer to PlayStation than Nintendo. And what I mean by that is, are we talking about these are the 2 big games for the year? And I get it, Metroid is coming soon, but that's an enhanced game, and that's okay. I guess that counts. But, Breath of the Wild, that was a proper big Zelda game. And I think within that calendar year, I think, when did Switch 1 launch? September?
No, March.
Late March.
March 2017 is when the Switch launched, and Zelda was day and date with the Switch. So and then we got Kart in April of the same year, and then we got Splatoon 2 in June of that year, and then we got Odyssey obviously in October of that year. Like,
and then Smash in December. Right?
Yeah, no. Smash was a year later. A year later.
Okay,
that was a year later. So obviously, Sakurai has been unchained from his desk and allowed to make another video game. That's fine. Great. I'm okay with that. Yeah. But the thing, what I think we're going to see here, and Miyamoto kind of hinted at that. I can't remember if it was on their fiscal year conference that they do, but he said these games are going to cost more to make. They're going to take more time to make, and I think we're seeing that. So, we didn't see Mario. And I think that's part of it. Like, if they had this lineup and a 3D Mario dropping by holiday, I think people are singing a different tune, because that's you get a Donkey Kong and a Kart.
Donkey Kong could become. My worry is Donkey Kong could be a Kirby, right? Mm-hmm. And could be it looked like it could be like Bowser's Fury was very good.
Yeah.
but it was also a very short experience. It was, I mean, relatively. I mean, for me, it was short. Odyssey was like very meaty, and my
Mhm.
worry is like we have an unknown quantity in Donkey Kong, but it looks cool, and I'm hoping that it's a deep game. And then you have Mario Kart World, which is cool. That's an iteration, and that's a proper iteration, and
Like,
that's neat. But like
here's what
there could have been more, man. There
here's
could have
what
been
I'll
more,
say.
especially if you're asking for that much money.
Yeah.
And $90 for games now. You know,
Here's what I'll say about Donkey Kong, just the size of it. The 20-minute demo that I was given, it felt like 5 minutes. And I mean that in the same way I do where like when you're playing Breath of the Wild, Joe, and like you're completely immersed and you look up and it's been like 2 hours.
Yeah.
That I got lost in that Donkey Kong game the same way, John. And I just think that based on the second world I played, if that's just the second world, this is a very big game. Very big. And I can't, I don't know. So I'm not going to say one way or the other, right? Like I once I play the game, I don't think I'll review it, but like whoever reviews it, I'm sure they'll give an opinion of it. But like from what I saw, that 20 minutes and like the amount of secrets that were in that second area, I think this is a meaty game, John. I don't know where it's going to fall, but my guess is it's going to be closer to Odyssey than it is Kirby. Because we got a Kirby game, you know? And that actually looked delightful. Like, I don't know. I like Air Ride. So Air Riders is fine. But I'm just happy that Sakurai doesn't have to make Smash until next year, probably. But yeah, like, I think it was light on first-party software, just in general. And I thought the thing that offended me the most is that they want us to pay for that tour, whatever, Switch tour. That's a pack-in game.
Those are indications.
That's a pack-in game.
By the way, those are indications that we are dealing with a slightly different Nintendo. If you look at the movie stuff, which is cool, I love the movies and all that stuff.
We watched that last night.
Well, the Mario movie. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's great. It just felt like I'm hoping that we're not dealing with a very a slightly different Nintendo where, you know what, this is good enough. You know what I mean? And I think if you look at the Switch lineup, there's a lot of, hey, this is good enough games, you know? And that's, I don't know, that's just different. It's just a different Nintendo. And I think what's offensive to me is that you're asking for more money for a somewhat cheaper product. You know, PS5 Pro didn't offend me because that's an expensive product. It feels expensive. You see the fidelity there and whatever. But the PlayStation problem of like 2 really great or 1 to 2 really great games every calendar year, that kind of stinks. And yeah, fine, it takes more time. That's why you're spending more money as a consumer, bud. Miyamoto. That's why we're spending more money on this stuff.
I mean, they bought a plot of land next to their development center in Kyoto, and they built another development center, and they hired a whole building full of people.
So that's the mitigating. That's mitigating things.
They're definitely raising the costs. More. Yeah. Like costs went up regardless of tariffs. And then because of the development costs of making 4K assets or making games that support DLSS, that takes more time. But and that time is money, etc. But the other, like, it's just impossible to ignore what happened today globally, guys. I am sorry. It's impossible for me who analyzes someone who analyzes the markets every fucking day, someone who's like legitimately worried about the global economy right now. I don't think it makes sense to sell a product at a loss if you're Nintendo. So I get why they're doing it. But yeah, they very much know there's a certain group of people, probably 7 to 20 million people, who are going to buy this year. They don't care. They're going to buy it because it's the only thing they want this year, right? And they can afford it.
Sure. Now,
that's not 150 million people. That's how many people bought the Switch 1. And I have never said that this thing would outsell the Switch 1. I think you're lucky if this thing sells 75 million units in its lifetime.
Right.
That's half. But the whole point is why this company is still around is they don't go bankrupt by giving away shit. So it's like, this is a business and they have to stay in business and they have to make money. Right. So like they're going to, all companies are profit driven. Except for Shack News. But most other companies are profit driven. And maybe someday Shack News will be too. But like My point is that like it's not. It's an industry problem that we're witnessing here. Nintendo's first through the gate. I think Sony was my point. $700, that was sticker shock to me. I was like, that's high. But then I'm like,
it was high too, but it wasn't surprising. And
I was
coming from
surprised.
Sony, like the friggin' TV company, like
Like 600, like 600, that was the high point, right? That was PS3.
Once
and
you're
I was like,
over the 500 realm or whatever, it just feels different, man. You're in weird territory. And then, PS5 Pro, I look.
Then how much is an iPhone, right? And that's like $1,000 a year.
These are
and that's like, and a MacBook is going to cost you $4,000 or $5,000 now. Like, I'm just saying, boy, if this pissed off people, come back tomorrow when you try to buy a house or you buy a car. Or
I get it, but it's really putting a lot of, and I don't care about Trump. I'm not an apologist or a defender by any means, and you know that. And you saw Cory Booker from New Jersey. Please remember New Jersey if you want a good example of what what we're about politically. But
shout out to Cory Booker. I liked what he had to say at the end of it too. Like we need to be a problem. We need to be a problem. We need to resist. But you know what? That rhetoric would have been great 18 months ago, Corey.
Well, all right. So how's Ohio doing? But all right. So
we got legal weed.
Ohio talking about? You got legal weed.
We got legal weed, and women can get abortions. So I'd say we're doing okay relative to the rest of the state.
Well, welcome to that's fair enough. It's still part of the union.
Texas.
But yeah, still part of the union. Well, my point, I think, was just with Nintendo. I guess I was just expecting. Well, I guess I'm not that surprised. I would have liked more games. I think to Joe's point, let's see the games, and we're not
I'll
seeing
I'll say this: like I didn't log into E-Trade and dump my stock today.
Yeah.
Now why? Because if this thing did not push 4K 60, I would have been out. I would have been so out. I would like another planned obsolete piece of crap. Are you serious? Like, no, you couldn't get away with that, Nintendo, and they didn't. So they're like, fuck it, we're gonna use this hardware.
I don't know. I think they could have gotten away with anything. Honestly, I don't mean it in a bad way. They've the IP is that strong, and a lot of the games are that strong. I think this is just another. This is like the temperature in the boiling pot. It seemed like it went up today, regardless of the tariffs. Okay, I really understand. I get that, and I agree with you.
But you realize that China, Korea, and Japan formed a free trade agreement? Those three countries hate each other, John. They fucking hate each other.
Well,
and they hate us. They now hate us. They now hate us more than they hate each other. Like the assassinations of Chinese people by the Japanese during World War II. They don't forget that shit. You know, all the stuff that's happened in North Korea and South. Like
eventually,
those countries
I do think we have to. Eventually, even gaming companies, and I'm not talking about you, but I am talking about probably a lot of people in that room. And I'm not sure. I haven't read a lot of the coverage. I guess it's under embargo and stuff.
Correct.
I think I want to stop letting companies off the hook so easily when they give you somewhat outdated hardware at a somewhat exorbitant price, and you're also moving the market more expensive to $80 and $90 games, which Apple doesn't do. Apple with iPhone Pro and iPhone, this and that and whatever. You gotta say it is a cutting edge piece of technology that you're buying or leasing or whatever you're doing with the phone. It's also ubiquitous. It is something that we use hours and hours on every single day, right? So I think making an Apple comparison, even a Sony comparison, the technical fidelity that you're saying, you see the money there. And I wonder if they're making a profit on any of these units. You know what I'm saying? Certainly not with the tariffs anymore. I just think that Nintendo, for a company that prides itself in being more of a kid-friendly toy type company, I think this felt like, oh, you remember when Google said "Don't be evil" and that was their motto? And like early on, but early on, it was like, you know what? Yeah, Silicon Valley is like potentially like they're the good guys. I don't know.
They're not.
I know, but remember,
They never were.
And I think maybe I'm seeing that with Nintendo. I don't know.
Look, for a company to exist from 1889 to 2025, John, yeah,
You got to break some eggs. I get it. I've heard that.
they gotta have some love hotels in the middle. Like they used to run love hotels. They used to have hotels where you would fuck people for money. Same company. Like yes. Yes,
All right,
100%, John. 100%. Companies
the
are
90s
not
or?
moral. Companies are not moral, and that Google message or mission statement.
Sure.
The minute that Eric Schmidt got there, he threw that shit in the trash.
He did. No, I understand.
It was like 2004 or 2006 that they got rid of that shit, and they were like, you know what? Nah, money. We like money here, so we're gonna sell everyone's information to anyone who pays us. Right? That's what Google is. Google makes money off of ads, and they make money off of selling your data. And Amazon makes money off of ads and selling your data. Everyone sells your data, right? So it's like, none
Google
of these
didn't have an army. Google didn't have a vertical of journalism that was devoted to kissing their ass. Number one, okay, and Nintendo does. That's why it's gatekept so clearly.
Yeah,
and I think, and so that's where
it's like
the other
really
thing is real quick.
I don't kiss their ass.
You, but you are, and you know this, and you're giving yourself too little credit if you don't admit that you are the exception. And I'm saying the singular, potentially, exception in that rule.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are exceptions, and those are trailblazers, whatever you want to say. Those are pioneers, whatever you want to call it. But you are the exception to that because you're fully self-funded. That means you're fully independent. That means you can do whatever the fuck you want, say whatever you want, right? But that is the exception. So what I'm saying,
I have a handout asking for ads from Nintendo while writing reviews. You know, that's the difference.
Right.
That's the difference. I'm not like, hey, let's do this ad deal so that you can be on the cover in Game Informer. Like, I don't have that. So like, yeah, I do see that, and I'm like, why the fuck was I there? Because like, I mean, I think it's because I'm honest. When a game sucks, I tell you it sucks. That fucking the Dragon Race thing, like, I hated it. I fucking hated it. It was terrible. Drag X Race. I don't know. Whatever the fuck it's called. Fuck that game so hard.
Really? That bad? Oh,
it was so fucking terrible, John. Like, one little inch. Like, I'm telling you, like, I wanted it to be good, John, because, you know, I like Rocket League. I like basketball.
Yeah, sure.
It was a cool new input. I'm open-minded. And I put my fucking Joy-Cons on the ground. If you move 1 millimeter too far with one versus the other, it turns. It's so frustrating.
Okay.
Fuck that game. So like, that's what I'm saying. So, like, the fact that I can go to this event with all the Ass Kissers Society of America, like, I can go to that event, I can tell you, Drag X Drive sucks balls.
Yeah,
like it does, and like no Nintendo sniper just shot me. Like it's.
So that's all. So that's
some people are just too afraid to say shit.
But that's why I'm saying with the Google example, it's just that Google, you know, they didn't have that kind of army of sycophants. And I think that's a bit of it's interesting. It's just like, you know, Nintendo's going to get away with murder. Apple
does have that parade of sycophants.
I know, but they also have a lot of critics. They also have they do have a lot of critics.
I had trouble finding any naysaying today. And again, I wasn't trying to be a hater. I was like, am I alone in feeling the way I feel? And like,
no,
the response was,
I mean, from the consumers, like if you look at,
the chat, I agree with you. Yes.
The chat was, and I'm talking about comments on social or whatever, but from journalists or whatever, like, man, oh man, do they love the Kool-Aid. And I think Apple do not see that.
What were you just talking about 2 weeks ago or a week ago?
To say that
the internet and the people who were fucking there at 9 a.m. today don't have jobs, or their jobs revolve around the industry.
This is their jobs. Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm saying? But the people who have time to reply to a YouTube chat are in their basement, you know, whatever. Like, I don't think they fucking matter. These are the same people that said Assassin's Creed wouldn't sell 3 million units later.
No, okay, I don't know.
Is woke 20 million units later. You know, like, all I'm saying is that, like, there's the people who live this shit, and there's the people who don't, and they just consume shit. there
I
are
know,
so
but I
many
don't think
parts
I'm
of this.
on. I
But,
don't think
there's
Joe
so many.
or-
There's no. I'm not saying you guys are that, but like
I know you're not.
referencing chat like it means anything. It is an anecdotal piece of evidence. I'll give you that.
Well,
But
that
like,
is like
we're not gonna
referencing,
know. We're not gonna know what the consumer thinks of this until the next earnings after January 5th, because then we'll know how many units sold. We're gonna know sell through.
Oh no. That doesn't say anything. I mean, except that it's going to be a success. This will be an unbelievable success. Okay, this will be very successful, and all they it goes down to the games. That's why I said I was waiting
I
for
think it.
for you to. I was waiting to hear from you
Yeah,
about the games before I really made a judgment call.
I
thought
don't
the
think there was
presentation
enough.
was. I thought the presentation was not good.
Mhm.
We were chatting with somebody who said it was one of the worst presentations in gaming that they've seen since
That's
the PlayStation 3 reveal or PlayStation 4 reveal.
That's
And they're not a hate.
insane.
They're not a hater or anything.
You've
This is
been to
like
an
somebody
Xbox. You've been to an Xbox E3 presentation, right?
I have, and I know that when I'm, and I know when
Remember the
I
one
know.
where Don Matrick came out there and he said, "We have this new deal. Like, you can't trade in games anymore." Remember that?
No, I
And then
know, I do.
Sony dropped the hammer on it. That's the worst presentation of all time. I'm sorry.
No,
That
and
one.
nobody, they weren't saying this was the worst presentation of all time, just that this was the worst since something like that.
Wow.
And this is coming from a pretty fair source. I think it's different when
And a
you're
fan.
in the room.
And a fan, John, right?
And a fan,
Right, yeah.
and somebody who
Yeah.
will likely, actually, they said they weren't going to pre-order, much to my surprise, but which was very surprising. So I think it's like, I think when you're in the room, there's an acceptance of certain things. And I think when you're, and I'm not saying with you, because you see this stuff, but the reason you're like, I hate games journalists at the beginning is because they're not judging it like correctly. I think they're not, Joe would make fun of me when I would say like, I would buy this game or this console or whatever it was, and it was like, oh, the man of the people speaking again. Yeah, fair enough.
Come on.
There's no man of the people. I mean, in Cartridge Family.
Oddly enough,
in our previous
I got there towards the end of the registration period, so I was sitting back row during the direct. To my right, there was Shintaro Furukawa and Doug Bowser, and I kept looking over at them.
Funny. That's cool.
During the presentation to see their reactions to things. It was a very tense, terse looking face on Furukawa. And Doug Bowser, he was just kind of like there. He spoke at the end of the direct. He spoke at the end of the direct, though. And yeah, like none of them felt like, they did not look confident, is what I'm getting at. They did not look overconfident. They were just kind of like, oh God, I hope this lands. They weren't really sure. And I think they might have just heard the price too. You know what I mean? Like
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And I think at the core of this, the sticker shock of the game prices has hit people more than anything. Like, because that's
it's
like
not
that.
Fair. That's why it's not fair. I mean that it sounds petulant. No, Asif, man.
No. Let's go back to John. You were a gamer. You were a gamer in the 1990s with me, man. Like I remember I got Roadrunner's Death Valley Rally for my birthday, and my mom saw the price tag. It was $70 in 1990 or 1992. That's $140 today.
No, I get it. It was a special thing. I look, my mom. I remember how.
Getting one game in the 90s.
Dude, we had one, but you had one game then.
That was it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if we're going to do the olden times thing, which I agree with, like Double Dragon 2 was the thing. It was $100 or $90 or whatever it is for Macy's of all places. I totally get it.
I'm saying
just
that
saying, like, here.
It's about time. Yeah. I think it's overdue for this industry that they're going to raise prices. And if we think this is the end,
that's crazy.
I cannot wait for the GTA 6 price reveal. I cannot.
No.
Wait.
But you know what? That's slightly different.
It's not.
Look.
It's going to be $100.
It's going to be. It should be $150. Okay,
you know why?
Because it's going to be. It's going to be potentially. Look.
This system can run it, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It could run it. I mean, we saw the sizzle reel too, right? And some of those games looked gorgeous. And then Cyberpunk. So, like, let's see it come out. Let's see Donkey Kong make sure that it's worth $90 because I know GTA 6 is going to be worth $120. We all know that.
I think Nintendo is clearly pushing people to digital. They're saying, go buy digital. That's going to improve our margins.
Because they want to control everything. Yeah, they want to control the message.
Yeah.
Control digital. I mean, they want, buy digital, download our news app, come to us for the direct, come to us for whatever. And I just think that's not really in the best interest of the consumer. And that would kill that. You know me for forever. My problem in this industry, in games media, is because I always thought about how much does this cost? Because we wouldn't get the free games. We would work our asses off to a lot of the time. We wouldn't get the codes. We wouldn't get whatever. So it was just another reminder. It was almost a good thing. It was a reminder that, hey, remember, this shit costs money. And it's a good thing for the industry. I don't know, man. I think it's not a good thing for the consumer, especially when you're dealing with, all this other stuff that's getting more expensive or whatever.
I just mentioned it last week. I don't know if it was on this. Guys, I'm on too many shows. I did a Game Trader on Monday, and I'm over here in fucking New York today. I don't fucking know when I said this, but sure. I think I said it on Shack Together last week. We have earnings reports from Nike, Lululemon, Walmart, Dollar Tree, plenty of retailers that all say the American consumer is weakening. And it's already happening overseas. We know that the American consumer is weakening. It's very likely that we'll be in a recession in the next quarter. So it's horrible timing. Like, what Nintendo's doing here is horrible timing.
So look, it doesn't matter.
No,
look,
I'm just saying,
are good at company.
They're gonna do what they're gonna do, and they're gonna do it because they know that they have an early adopter base that they know will buy it. And then they'll worry about 2026 when they get to 2026 kind of thing. But I agree that the first party software lineup was anemic at this event because they could have at least shown us something. Like showed us.
If you're gonna, that's where we thought the Kirby trailer was the start of a Smash trailer.
Yeah,
honestly, we were like,
I did too.
Yeah, right. And I think that would have been something special, a little bit more, because if you're going to ask people for their hard-earned money and more today than yesterday, even if 30 years ago games were this and that and the other, it was a whole different, it was a different industry back then. Like, there weren't economies of scale. This stuff was a lot more novel. So I think it was more expensive to create. I don't know why this is getting that much more expensive for games that looked very samey from what we've played in the past. And that's where the GTA 6 that comparison doesn't hold as much water with me, because I think that's going to be very special. And I'm not a huge GTA fan, but I remember 5, I remember Red Dead Redemption 2 and this and that. Rockstar, they take 10 years. I
don't want to sound like accusatory. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
that's okay.
How many seconds have you played Tears of the Kingdom?
How many seconds? I don't. Wait. So you don't want to
play it? Play it. Play it. I'm saying play that game. You have a game that you haven't played. That's going to be really, really good. I'm telling you, it's better
on this one. I'll back up John.
It's better on Switch too. Like, you can finally play it. If you didn't want to play it on Switch, you have a better Tears now. Like, that's what I'm saying. There's games that people didn't play in the last generation because of cost, time, whatever, that are all going to run better. Not everyone bought every game that came out on Switch, and some of them.
Why I bought a PS5 Pro.
I'm trying to make a point about Tears, though. Like, there's a game that a lot of people didn't play, way less than played Breath of the Wild, even. That I don't know if the piracy thing is why people didn't play it, or story leaks or whatever, but it's better. Like, if the biggest complaint about Tears was the frame rate, which I understand, it's been fixed. And if you have the expansion pack, it's not going to cost you anything. Like, that's just one example I'm giving.
It does cost you. That's Netflix math, man. It does cost you because you have the expansion pack. Sure. It costs money. All this shit costs money.
But you're already
and that's
paying.
Okay. I know.
If you're
Yeah,
already
I know.
paying for it, it's an additional thing that we didn't know yesterday.
It's Google,
that
yo. It's YouTube TV that now that's
Yeah.
$92, but we got you TNT or
Yeah.
Hallmark Channel or whatever.
And that's
I'm just saying,
happening everywhere.
I
It's happening
thought
every single subscription plan is doing that to us.
Fuck me. All right.
No, I agree with you. I agree with
No,
what you're saying.
Don't
man.
agree. It's okay. You don't have to
No,
agree.
I agree with what you're
I just
saying, though.
wanna-
These subscriptions keep going up in price, and they throw one little thing on, but they're making $5 for every $1 they're giving us. And
it's old shit by and large. It's old shit. I don't want to hear Miyamoto say a word about development costs when you're trotting out the same stuff that was already a sunk cost that was already recouped. You recouped it back when Tears of the Kingdom launched. Fine, we get to play it again. I know that I'm going to spend, what, $10-$20, whatever it is, for the upgrade, right? Because now I can play.
That's my point. It's part of your subscription.
Sorry.
That was my point.
$80 yearly subscription.
That was my point. At least they're giving it to you, is all I was saying. Is like, at least it's not, if you have the expansion pack, at least you get it. At least you get it.
Okay, all right.
I'm just saying, like, for the rest of the time, I was like, how much does that cost? How much does that? No, they wouldn't tell me anything. No, like, I'm like, how much does Kirby and the Forgotten Land cost? And then Switch 2 enhanced. They're like, I don't know. What the fuck? How are you having an event with no prices? This is so fucking weird.
Well, because they know that people will not care. They will have the early adopters, the journalists, a lot of them saying, you know what? They're going to say this has no cost. You're doing it right now with all due respect. This has no cost when it does actually have a cost. And I think that's the problem that we're dealing with. Yeah, fine, societally with subscriptions and this and that. But that's what makes like the Google comparison tough for me to swallow or whatever in this way. Google said, don't be evil until they said, we're not going to say that anymore because we're being evil. Nintendo doesn't do that. And not only that, they have an army of journalists that just back them up and that everything's hunky-dory and everything's fine. You're not saying that, but I'm saying just generally. And I think that's really deleterious. I hate using that word, but like that's a really like a chipping away of value that the consumer gets to get.
I think
it kind of sucks.
I think the people that you're calling...
No. I am bothered by the whole tariff thing, the whole market crashing, the whole whatever. We're fine, like, but a lot of people aren't. And I thought it was like at least somewhat. Look, they were backed into a corner. I think that was the look. Maybe, I don't know. This really was a very tough day for them to do a reveal. And I actually like it kind of sucks. And Asif, I'll disagree. I don't think they could anticipate this level of shittery from the tariffs and whatever. But they could have maybe anticipated, you know what, the consumer's really having a tough time. The yen is having a very difficult time. There's a lot of factors, I get it. At least then show better value. Or like, you know, if we're going to upgrade these games, why not all of them then be with the expansion pack and it's quote unquote free with your $90 subscription? Wait, what is that? What? Okay. What are we talking about? It's a free bonus add-on. You know, like, yeah, but no, it's not free. I'm paying for it. So I don't know. I just feel like it's a very difficult time for consumers, for people. You've been preaching that for a while. I just felt like, man, oh man, I wish Nintendo, I don't know. It's not, I hate saying good guys, bad guys or whatever. It's not that.
There's no good guys or bad guys in this.
No, I know. And I feel like, you know, what's going to be funny is reading the coverage where it's going to be what pissed me off last week about Game Informer. It's like, I didn't read any critique, any highlight of where does this money come from with Nintendo? Where is this money going? What are consumers getting out of it? I guarantee that we're not going to see those kinds of pieces out there. And yeah, it's not good guys, bad guys, but man, I wish Nintendo were special. And it feels like, you know how I feel about Nintendo. I feel like, you know, I'm a big fan for forever. And this was a rough one. This was a rough day. Because I think like, yeah, I wish I could have seen. I wish I could have seen more grace, you know, in a way.
The thing that I miss about Nintendo and why I am worried about the future of Nintendo is I can't fit a fucking Nintendo device in my pocket.
Hey, Joe and I were at the Nintendo store yesterday, and we were admiring the Game Boys
That's
Game
right.
Boy Advance SP is
and the
still the
DS.
best system they've ever made. Like, Game Boy Advance SP is industrial design wise my favorite thing they've ever made, and I stand by that because it
It's
fit in
beautiful.
my fucking pocket. You're not going to
Yeah.
sell 30 million of these in Japan. You can't.
We were admiring the hell out of those. And
Yeah.
I think I said, I was like, my favorite was the game. They had something special with like the Game Boy Light, the Game Boy SPs, then the the DS Lights and whatnot. And, you know, I don't know. It's just not trying to be twee and silly and corny about it.
Yeah, part of that is us being old, but yeah, I mean, there was something.
It is.
It was, but I agree. I miss it because, and to be clear, I didn't have that stuff as a kid. I bought a 3DS, John, when you and Asif gave me a Shack News job 11 years ago. The first thing I bought was a 3DS, and I had never owned a Nintendo product. Period.
Wow.
And I was an adult.
That's crazy.
Then. I was an adult. And what I'm missing now is that, like, look at this like universe of incredible stuff that slides into my pocket. And yeah, I'm bringing some of that expectation to a show.
Like, I think that's something that Nintendo has lost, and I don't know if they'll ever get it back, but that concerns me a lot.
That's in the same vein, right, Asif? Like, that's what I'm really talking about. There's something that feels like, and maybe that's just a weird innocent thing, that a naivete, right? Fair enough. Maybe I'm being super naive about it. I am being naive about it because business is going to business. But man, wouldn't it have been cool to see something like that handheld, like that you're talking about, or other things?
Yeah, like here's a Switch 2 Mini, or like here's a Switch Mini, and it's like a brand new thing that fits in your pocket, and maybe it only plays certain games, but like I wonder, like I think this is a very large product. Like I mean, physically, it's not small, and that was a problem I had with Deck. It's not as bad with Switch because they kept the same thickness of it, but I just am like, this is not a portable device. iPhone is a portable device. Like this Switch is like, it's a portable console, but it's no. I don't think it's fair to call it handheld anymore. It's too big, and that's like a huge segment of gaming that Nintendo basically created and now has kind of ignored. And I think that's really fucking weird. And now this is just an extension of that. Now, I think the internet was going to shit on this no matter what. If this thing was underpowered, that would have been the story today, not the price. And it would have been underpowered because they thought about price, right? So this thing's cost $350, and they announced a. You know what I thought was really fucking weird? They didn't announce a price cut to the OLED or the Switch or the Switch Lite today. Like, that's weird. Like, they're just going to keep selling the Switch at $300,
and they can, because it's cheaper. Like the price sells. Makes sense in context.
They have the inventory sitting there. It's not like it's going to cost them anything. But yeah, like that's a concern I have. Is like I agree with what you're saying, John, and that's why I keep talking about Apple, because I don't think Apple is the same Apple. Apple died.
Well, no.
Apple died in 2011, and this is now Tim Cook's Apple, and it makes a lot of money.
Makes a shit ton of money, but on colored iPhones.
Yeah, real quick, because this is the podcast that I talk about products that I get. I finally upgraded to my stupid iPhone 16 Pro. Fuck this thing. That camera button is the dumbest thing ever. I've hit it 50 times since I upgraded this shit. Every time I grab the phone, I fucking hit I have a camera button. I didn't need that. You already have an action button. Anyway, fuck that thing. But like, the point is, like, we're on 16 iPhones, and I'm still buying it like a sucker. So, like, where are we going to be on Switch 3, Switch 4, Switch 5? Like, Nintendo will outlast Donald Trump. And like, this is them dealing with the market they have. And I think they're taking advantage of things in places. I think they overestimated. They're like, okay, I really think they wanted to price this at $399. That was what they wanted to do. And then you're right, for sure. And then they saw this data come in over the weekend, or like the Bank of Japan talked to them about it. Cause like, these governments have been talking to their corporations, China, Korea, and Japan specifically. The last week, they've all been planning how they were going to respond to this. And I think that's what influenced the $50 price increase. I will say, if software costs as much as it's going to, that Mario Kart bundle is kind of a no-brainer. If you want,
you have to get it.
If you want this, it's a good deal relative to buying it separately.
Now, let me ask you, and we could. I don't want it to be overly negative. Like I'm still curious about this stuff. The way that you're talking about Donkey Kong and Mario Kart. That's pretty awesome. Did they address how people are going to be able to pre-order this? And I don't know if this was a rumor, but are Nintendo members or whatever, my Nintendo members, going to have like dibs on things, or do we have to worry about scalpers and the same thing, Joe, unfortunately, you're dealing with regarding building your PC and stuff?
They put out a plan. So Nintendo Switch Online membership, they're going to give priority to people who have been Switch Online members for at least 2 years by 2 days ago. So 3/31/2025. If you've been a Switch Online customer continuously for 2 years, you're going to get preferred placement when pre-ordering. For family memberships, the person who purchased the membership will be eligible. Other people in the family will not be eligible. So you'll be able to buy one pre-order if you're a Switch Online subscriber who's been one for 2 years. They're also going to prioritize. They're also going to prioritize based on playtime, and this is where I win.
Funny.
Has played a certain amount of time playing purchased paid Switch games, prioritizing those with more playtime.
Wow.
People who share usage information with Nintendo are being prioritized. I also do that. People who have opted in to share usage information with Nintendo to customize offers and recommendations, they get preferred treatment. And then people who have opted to receive promotional emails from Nintendo are being given preferential treatment. So they're looking out for you if you're a loyal user, which I am.
Yeah, that's good. That's the way to do it.
245 hours in F-Zero. I have 280 hours in Tears of the Kingdom. I'm approaching 300 hours in Tetris Effect on that thing. Mario Maker over 200 hours. Like, I'm exactly who they're talking about here.
Sure.
And if by the grace of God I get a review unit, that's awesome. I'm still going to buy one. I plan on doing giveaways of this thing because obviously no one's going to buy it who doesn't have the money. So there's going to be a lot of demand for giveaways. So I'm someone who's made millions of dollars off of this company, and I will give away. I'm buying a Switch for everyone on the Shack News staff. I'm going to give away a bunch of Switches. So yeah, I get it. I understand that this is going to be a nightmare for a lot of people, but I do think Nintendo tested it out with Alarmo, John, and I think this is like that was like the beta test. Like, we're going to see
Alarmo, people who bought Alarmo will also get priority.
I doubt it.
We really should get a free one.
I mean, that would be nice. Maybe just subtract the cost of the Alarmo from the Switch 2.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean,
because I haven't even opened that shit. That shit's still in a
friggin' Alarmo. Yeah.
I bought fuck Alarmo. What was like the worst game I bought? You know what I mean? Like that. I should get credit for buying crap. I bought 1-2 Switch. I should get credit for that.
Oh yeah, that's got to be statistically the worst game they put out, right?
By far. Although the sequel was worse. If that was possible, everybody 1-2 Switch might be worse. I can't believe they released a sequel in the cover of night, and no one even noticed. But it was trash.
Please don't.
That's
notice
what I'm saying.
Please don't notice this.
Yeah, and like. The nerve of them, like, I agree with you, John, where it's like the nerve of them to charge for what should definitely be a pack-in, that Switch 2 tour game, that offended me. Because I played that game, and I'm like, I even said it while I was playing it to the people there. I was like, this should be a pack-in. And they're like, no, it's going to cost money. I'm like, are you serious? Like,
wasn't Astrobot like the first, not obviously not.
Yeah, that first Astrobot, not Astrobot. Playroom. Or no. Yeah, Playroom. That's the one with the GPU song. Yeah, that game's great. And that was a pack-in.
Awesome. And that was a pack-in. And that also behaved as like a system demo.
Perfect introduction to the Sony PlayStation 5. Explained how it worked. And it celebrated their franchises. Yeah. There was a part, I will say, like, Nintendo really wants you to know the difference between 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, and 120. There's a game where that's all you do. It's like a ball goes on the screen and you guess what frames per second it is. I was like, wow, they're
That's
trying.
pretty funny.
Like, they're trying, man. They're trying real hard with that game. But like, that should be free. That's a proof of concept kind of thing. And also, when I found out who made the game, I was like, oh, it's the lead hardware designer of the whole system. He made it. So he's not he's not really the game designer guy. So I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But like, they had this roundtable discussion with the technical director, the product manager, and the technical director for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And that guy, watch him. He is going to be the Miyamoto of the future. That guy is pushing this company forward. He's the guy that said, we got to use DLSS. He's the guy that's like, I hate. That guy probably hated making Tears for Switch 1. He was like, why are we even doing this? Like, they knew that they had this system coming. Tears would have been a great launch title. But no, they had to cash in on the 150 million units of Switch that were out there. And you saw how the customer responded with the piracy, 1 million copies pirated, and all the leaks and everything. So like, I think Nintendo has become a company that people are more willing to hate than 8 years ago. They were the underdog. They were the underdog in 2017. Now they're king shit, and they're acting like it a little bit. And that's we've seen this track record from them before. I just don't think it's as egregious as the Wii U. It remains to be seen if it's as bad as that first 3DS, right? And then they spent the whole 3DS generation trying to figure it out. My initial impression from right now is that it is not the 3DS. I think that we are witnessing Nintendo turn in. Nintendo makes Switch like Apple makes iPhone, like Sony makes PlayStation. I just think that Switch, Joe, you're right.
They charge like it. I don't think they make the hardware. I just don't think the fidelity's there. That's my concern.
Thing yet, though, John. Like, feel it. It's not as cheap as it looks. Like, feel it.
Yeah.
Feel it in your hand. Use the JoyCons. Use the mouse. Don't play the stupid basketball game, but use the mouse in Metroid.
Please do not play the basketball game.
I'm so sorry to the devs that they made you make that game. They should have put Mario Maker 3 out instead. Because that would have been a
shame too, because it's like, my sister's handicapped, and she's also a Wii fan. She loves her Wii, and we just got her a Wii U. She's
probably going to kick ass at this game. Like,
she might. Well, what I wanted to say is, like, I love the representation factor of it, but it's the same. It looks like dog shit, like
it plays
just
like
because
dog shit.
Yeah, just because it is representing, a community doesn't mean the game is good, and that's a shame.
But like, I will say, it is like a 1-to-1. Like, it was a workout. Yeah. That game was a workout.
Oh, that's cool. That part's cool, I think.
I just want to throw that in there. Like, if it feels like ARMS, right? Like, ARMS was a flop. But there was a little bit of innovation in there, and if you actually played ARMS, you would burn calories. So, like, I don't mean to shit all over that game, but man, I had a bad time playing it. It was just not fun, and it was frustrating because, like, it speaks to how how detailed the movement of that mouse is. But yeah, just a little bit too far, and then you turn, and that ruins everything. It does feel good when you make a shot, though. Like, that's the same feeling as like a Wii Sport basketball mini game, though. But yeah, it's cool that they're doing stuff like that. But that's the one that I was like, that feels like 1-2 Switch, and that will be forgotten. And like, that's just like, I hope this isn't it for this year. Like, I hope we get another direct with more software announced, even if it's like, hey, here's some games coming out holiday. Here's some games coming out in 2026. Like, I'm okay with that. But like, give us a reason to look forward to things. I did see TJ's writing an article at Shack News saying that the Duskbloods could be an injection of FOMO that benefits the Switch too. I agree with that, because that is a huge, huge get.
That was big, yeah.
That's a big get, and that's them spending money to get a get. That's not a free get. They had to pay for that.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's cool. Like, I hope we see more shit like that from them, because that's how you win, is by getting more games on your system. But yeah, like, I'm not going to sit here and say Cyberpunk is the reason to buy this thing, or Final Fantasy Remake Intergrade. But I will say that 60 frames per second Tears of the Kingdom was fucking awesome. Yeah. I was floored by that demo, because I played that game in its shitty state on a Switch, and I loved it. But like, I would readily admit that the frame rate while in Ultra Hand was complete dog shit. And that's the first thing I did, Joe. When I landed on the ground, first thing I did was find a thing to use Ultra Hand with. And I was like, oh my God. That was like that. You'll see it in the gameplay we upload tomorrow. But I was just like, holy crap, they made it good. And like, that goes back to like, not just today, John. That goes back to the last few years. It's been an abusive relationship with Nintendo for years between them and the consumer. And it's just, I think this is an extension of that. I guess that's why I'm just simply not surprised.
I guess I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed. Yeah, because if they did something that was a little bit more, special, or they showed off a little bit more, it wouldn't feel as egregious. And I think it felt a little egregious. I think it was doubled down by some of the commentary that was out there, some of the reaction that was out there. I agree with you. The internet sucks generally. I think that there are people still out there with valid opinions, like our friend who is a Nintendo fan and said that they're not pre-ordering it, like they thought it was not a great thing. There's some validity to that I think is easily dismissed because of the internet and everybody hates everything or whatever. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. This was not great for people who are seeing it, unless you're a really big Nintendo fan, or you got to go hands-on like you did and really get to see what's special about it. Which is, it's the games. So that's what I was hoping to hear. I really was hoping to hear that Donkey Kong. I'm a little bit concerned that you're like hedging it just a little bit because, and that's what you should be doing because you did get to play the full game.
Yeah, I just don't want to act like I don't want to act like I'm reviewing it. I can't act like this is a review.
But I think what John's trying to say is that you hedging it is almost validating the fear that I had.
I just want to tell you guys, I want to stress this. Not one demo made me smile and laugh and just be happier more than Donkey Kong. It's dripping with style and just detail. That attention to detail of Nintendo software that I absolutely love is all over it. It's dripping. It's dripping with it. And it was instant, man. Like, not a single gameplay element felt weird or forced. It was all like, yeah, of course Donkey Kong has that move. Like it wasn't something like, oh, we gave Mario a jetpack. That's weird. No, it's just Donkey Kong can climb shit because he's Donkey Kong, right? Yeah. Like but all those things that you love about Odyssey, where you could get to that hill, you can go over there, all that stuff was present in the demo I played. But yeah, I'm not going to say like what it is yet because I don't know. If I had to pick between the pendulum of Kirby and Mario Odyssey, I'm going to say it's closer to Odyssey, just my gut feeling. Because I don't think they would push it as hard. It wouldn't be the last game of the Direct if it was small. I don't think
so either. I agree with you. I don't think so either. But like Odyssey, man, that's your
favorite game on the Switch.
That's a tall order. Yeah, that was big. That was big.
That's got to be your favorite game on the Switch. Right?
It is. I don't think it's even close.
It's in my top 5, but like, I honestly, I felt like and that's just something. This is my problem, but I felt there's just too much shit to do.
Fair enough. See, that's the type of thing. That's why I'm still playing Assassin's Creed. Like, there's a lot to do, and I kind of like that. That's why GTA 6 will be worth that money because there's going to be a shit ton to do.
If they remove the puzzle where it's like, hey, put Mario's mustache back on the painting, like, I would love Odyssey. But those things suck to me. I'm like, that's not fun. That's just dumb.
Funny. Yeah.
But like, it was a mini game from like, I think it was in Sunshine. And they brought it over to Odyssey, and I'm like, I hated it. I hated it in Sunshine. I don't like it in Odyssey either.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
That's just my own personal beef, and I love Mario 3D games. So when I criticize them, it's with love in mind. But like,
of course, yeah.
But like, that's the thing that was missing to me. Was like, where's the Splatoon hype trailer? Where's any inkling of a Zelda game? Right? Like, where's the Ocarina of Time remake? Like,
That's the
it seems
worry, that they're letting the existing games carry a lot
carry
of
it.
water here.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's because they simply don't have the software lineup this year. I don't think
That's fine, but then why are we charging 2025 pricing for 2022 software? And that's I know it doesn't make sense. It might not make sense. I think from a consumer advocacy point of view, it does make sense to me. It's like that's a little bit much.
Well, just to take like the math out of it, right? Like, because it is so subjective. It's like, well, because the games are 2-3 years old, then the number doesn't make sense. For what it's worth, all of the sentiment that I think John and I are saying comes well before we heard any pricing. My thing was just like,
we did not know the pricing at all. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And a lot of the and the interaction with this mysterious third party was also pre-pricing.
By the way, I was just sent a text from somebody. It was a meme. Somebody brand new, very mainstream, like Animal Crossing type, gamer. A meme of Thanos from Avengers vanishing, and it was what was it? Let me tell you exactly, because this is where I'm blowing it now. Oh yeah, everyone's hyped for Switch 2 vanishing as soon as they saw the pricing. $80 for digital and $90 for physical is absolutely insane. So I don't think it's like only hater. I mean, literally, this is a mainstream. They don't care, but yeah,
Man, good luck when you have to buy anything.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to dwell on the money. I think the money is actually clouding the discussion.
I think it is too. Because if we want to talk about the quality of the new games that I played today, they were great. The quality of the shovelware from 2020, I'm not going to argue about that at all. They should not charge 80. They should not charge 80 for Cyberpunk on this thing. They should not charge 80 for Final Fantasy on this thing. They shouldn't. And my hope is that Nintendo still has a sliding scale where there's $30, $40, $50, $60 games, depending on what content we're getting. But they were so quiet about price today that that's a negative. Like, it is undeniably a negative. It's something I brought up to PR. It's something I brought up to my fellow journalists while it was happening. And because I was looking around, I'm like, are they going to tell us the price of this thing? And then they didn't. And then it shows up in my email right at the end of the direct. I was like, that's fucking weird.
That was weird.
I've never seen that. To me is the biggest miss of today is like, and I had to wonder, and like, I'm not making excuses, but I think that's the reason is all I'm saying is that today was a day of uncertainty when it came to price, and they had to kind of shoot from the hip. I think they went high. Now, maybe if the blowback is huge, they can lower the price, right? Yeah. They could. So it's like, if consumers really hate this, don't buy it. And they're going to have to react, right? Like, that's it. It still is a free market. Well, none of us have a gun to our head that we have to buy this hardware. We don't. We don't have to buy the games. Tell Nintendo, two middle fingers, I'm not buying this shit. If that's because that's what it's going to take to get the corporations to lower prices. But
fair enough.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think people are going to buy this.
I don't think that'll happen either, no.
It's going to be very, very
because
successful.
It goes back to like, we're in an abusive relationship with a bunch of billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar, and trillion-dollar companies, and they have their foot on our neck. But like, try to do anything this year, guys. Anything. It's going to cost more. Everything's going to cost more. And I know this isn't a political show, but fuck Donald Trump and fuck Elon Musk. This is all stupid. Why are we going to war with Canada?
Insane.
That's so fucking stupid. Like, with the world and the uncertainty that we face right now, I will pay $1,000 to escape reality on a Nintendo Switch 2. I'll pay $2,000. Just let me forget the world that we're in right now for 5 fucking minutes.
Hey,
like,
dude, you're finally... Now
fuck
you're
this place.
Hey, how many... We're 2 hours in, and now I'm like, you know what? I can see myself
this is resonating.
Switch 2. Yeah,
that's my point. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to this point. I'm sorry that sounded condescending or whatever at times. My point is, like, I need an escape from reality because reality fucking sucks. And that is video gaming. It's like the one place. Like, I've gone through shit in the last 5 years, man.
Yeah, man.
Video gaming has been a sanctuary. And it
Fair
remains
enough.
that.
That's fair
It
enough.
remains that.
I just
You
want
want to talk
make sure
about value, man?
Yeah.
Who was there for us at the darkest time in 2020? Isabel, Tom Nook. They were there for us, John.
Doug Bowser.
No, fuck Doug Bowser.
Oh, right.
Reggie Fils-Aimé. Reggie Fils-Aimé
Too
was
far,
still
John.
there. No, I'm saying Reggie Fils-Aimé was still there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Doug
that's true.
came a little later, but
Well,
like,
he was somewhere in the work, right?
he was a
He was
VP
he was in
doing esports or
Nigeria.
something. Whatever. He was in the wings waiting to take over. But my
Doesn't
point
really
is,
matter.
at the time when the world was collapsing in on itself in 2020, who was there? Nintendo.
Tom Nook, a reset son, Mr.
That's-
Rossetti.
Mr.
Yeah.
Rossetti, Isabel, all your stupid neighbors and the Islanders. Like, that game was there for us, man.
That's
Like,
fair.
that's all I'm saying, man, is that Nintendo makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, that's fair.
I can't say that about a lot of companies, man. They made
no.
I talk about a
fine.
game every week on this podcast, guys. The same fucking game. I play it
that's
every fucking
why
week.
That feeling and that passion, that feeling of happiness, that kind of thing. I think we're all in agreement. We just want that to be shared with as many people as humanly possible. And just today, the door was it got a little smaller because of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Nintendo. And did it have to? No, and no. It didn't have to.
But God
that
help
door
us
came
this
a little
fall.
bit smaller. That's
God help us this fall
I
when
know,
they
but
show
that's
you the
what
new
about is-
iPhone.
I'm just talking about Switch 2 or whatever.
We're gonna see iPhone go above $2,000 this year. Like,
Make it happen, baby.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason that I spent as much as I did on my MacBook last year. I saw all this coming. I kind of have a knack for this, seeing disasters in the financial markets coming, and we're in one. We are in one. We are in the shit, boys. And like, I don't care. Like, obviously I am wealthy, whatever. But I'm telling you, like, I would save every dollar I could to buy a fucking Game Boy Advance SP back in the day. And I would do the same for the Switch too, given my love of video games. Given my love of first-party Nintendo games. Because it's the only place we can get them. Meanwhile, I can play MLB The Show on this. I can play we're going to get Halo Master Chief Collection on this thing. Like, we haven't even heard the word Microsoft yet. They're going to announce a ton of games. It's not a mistake that this system comes out on June 5th, and the Jeff Keighley show is the next day? Like, do you think they're going to announce some Switch titles at Jeff's thing? Probably.
Yeah, sure.
So, like, all I'm saying is that, yes, the software lineup looks somewhat anemic or underwhelming, depending on if you're looking at first or third party. But, like, give it time. Let's see where we are in July, right? Because we're going to get that Donkey Kong game. I'm optimistic about Donkey Kong. I don't think that they would have waited. God, John, it's been since 64. We haven't had a 3D Donkey Kong game since 64.
Well, yeah, the Tropical Freeze and whatever, right?
But those are...
Oh, you meant 3D, like, yeah.
I mean,
right.
You're right. That had the foreground and background stuff. That's all very cool. I love Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, that was a solid game.
But I mean, like, giving
like a proper
DK this world that I don't have to jump into a fucking barrel to get a red banana this time. Like, that's the only beef I had with 64. So I'm telling you, John,
you weren't alone. You weren't alone there.
I instantly thought of you the first minute I played that Donkey Kong game today. I was like, John's going to fucking love this game. I was like, I instantly fell in love because obviously I've been dying for this. But like, I was like, this is your shit right here. Everything everything about your collectathon love is in this, and you're gonna eat this shit up with a spoon. You are, man.
I know I am. I know.
About it, like, when you have a chance to play it and everything, because I think you're gonna like it, and I think
it's so funny.
As someone who's been playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for fucking 10 years, I just want to play a different Mario Kart game,
right.
and it's different. It's actually different. But yeah, cool. Like, and I just lastly, like, Nintendo art is outstanding. It just is. And Nintendo art in 4K is stunning. That's all I can say. As like the draw distance in kart was outstanding. Even though I wasn't playing in 4K in Metroid, being able to play 1080p and 120 frames per second with a mouse, that's all very unique and cool to me. Like, that was like instant value add. So like there's little nuggets where I can see where the value will come from, but yeah, tough times financially for every company, and they're going to make stupid decisions. But boy, howdy, will this not be the last.
No, and tough times for every
consumer, every person,
times for the consumer, like
every
the
person out there.
Yeah,
like
that's all.
I'm glad that so many of these people at the event didn't know who I was because they weren't asking me for jobs or anything. Thank God. But like, it was funny though. I gotta say, it was really funny seeing people who have freelanced for Shack News in the last year not know who I was and just walk right by me. It's like, okay. I was like, cool. Good to know that I made zero impression on you. Or that you don't, I'm just some nameless, faceless person behind the logo. But you know, I had the logo on. I was wearing the hoodie.
Oh, really? What the heck? Yeah.
I sent out the Shack signal. And you know who knew me? Everyone at Golden Harris. And I think you know why.
Wow. Well, you're on them, you know.
I've been very vocal. I am a vocal advocate for Shack News. So much so that I might be annoying at times, but I leave him. I leave.
No, that's the job, man. That's the job. It's not the job to be annoying, but it's the job to advocate for your publication. Yeah, that's
exactly.
Journalism.
And that's what I did, and that's why I earned the respect of the entire Golden Harris team. Because I was like, I gave them evidence for why they were making bad decisions, leaving us out of things, and it got me an invite to this thing. And it wasn't by kissing their ass. I'll tell you that much. I did not kiss anyone's ass there at all. I was actually quite annoying, and it still got me the right outcome.
And I am very pro, be annoying, because that's the
squeaky wheel.
I can vouch for John on that one. Yeah.
Squeaky wheel.
Yeah,
squeaky wheel
it is not. Yeah, you're not meant to be friends with these people because they are not your friends.
And that's
either
the problem.
They help you do the job or not. And a lot of the time they don't.
And John, and this isn't, I'm not talking about Golden Harris specifically, but in our industry, there is an incestuous relationship between journalists and PR. There just is. And it's problematic. And it has been it speaks to the unprofessionalism of and why people don't take games journalists seriously.
Yeah, agreed. 1,000,000%.
That is a huge problem. I saw it on display today. I haven't left Ohio in 5 years. That's crazy. But like, I came here for this, and man, every single thing, like, it really seems like these events have changed. The industry has changed. I felt very out of place today. I would rather be at home on the home team editing trailers. Yeah. But when you own as many shares of Nintendo as I do, you have to do your due diligence. But I'm telling people who listen to this show know that I got Nintendo right. I bought it for $3. It's at $17 right now. It's probably crashing in Japan, but I got the Switch right. I think that Switch 2 is not going to kill this company. I think that there was a point in time where we were about to witness the death of Nintendo, and they were going to have to go third party, and the Switch stopped that.
Sure.
And now we're on the other side of it, and they are confident, and they're making decisions that aren't going to be pro-consumer, and that's weird. That's very weird.
So then just come out with more games, come out with them, make sure they're AAA, and
don't charge $60 for Switch 2 Tour or whatever the hell. Like better be
the thing.
That better be $20 or something. It shouldn't be any dollars, but like, don't make that $80. I would spit on that game if that was $80. Like, but it's cool. Like, I played it. Like, you'll see gameplay of it. It's like, it's cool and gimmicky, and like, it feels like that
Astro. It
feels like that Astro Playroom. It really does feel like that. But it's the Nintendo version. But yeah, like, I hope there's some variability to their prices, because when I think everyone saw that price point today at 80 and 90 for physical. There was no talk of the 90 for physical at the event, John. I learned that when I got to my hotel.
Yeah.
That's a problem. The messaging on price was exactly a problem.
What they're doing.
That was a problem.
They know what they're doing, because they knew that it wouldn't be. Yeah, they knew this is a little controversial.
Because by the time the roundtable happened, everyone in the room knew. But during the direct and during our first hands-on session, no one knew. And then by lunchtime, everyone got on Slack and they saw their different outlets were talking about it. But that's weird. I didn't like that. And that's poor communication.
We talked a lot about pricing. It is what it is. We also talked about the hands-on. It sounds, it does sound like some of these games, there's like a wait and see, but a lot of them Mario Kart and DK.
Like and
Those are the ones
Metroid.
that count.
I just want to
And
hammer Metroid.
Metroid sounds awesome. No, actually,
Metroid is. I love that franchise. That is a gorgeous game, and it runs amazing. Like that 120 frames per second on a Switch too. Please give me an F-Zero for the love of God. Please, like that's all I'm saying. More games. Give us more games. We're gonna hear from Sony. We're gonna hear from Microsoft. We're gonna hear from indies. Like, there's more games coming. There's definitely more games coming. But I think the first party lineup this year might not be that good, and like it might not be as robust as we would like. And it's impossible to beat 2017 Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild in the same year. You can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's impossible.
Sure.
The only way you beat that is by releasing a Mario movie and a Zelda movie in the same calendar year. Gee, what company's doing that? Oh, Nintendo next year. So, yeah, TLDR. I'm not selling. I'm not dissolving my position in Nintendo. I think it should be held. I don't think it should be bought here. I wouldn't buy any stocks here. We need some sort of stability in the economy before I tell anyone to invest in anything. But whenever things bottom, you should put Nintendo on your shopping list because they're not going anywhere. They're a very safe, boring company. You know, like it's not like you're buying Tesla, right? Like you're buying a very stodgy old company at this point. And that's kind of why I keep mentioning Apple. Is I feel like we're entering the post Steve Jobs Apple phase for Nintendo. And that isn't that inspiring. But go look at the chart after Steve Jobs died.
Of course. No,
stock went to the moon.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. So I talk a lot of shit about Tim Cook, but he managed the stock extremely well.
Sure.
And I'm sure Furukawa, I credit Furukawa for actually doing a very good job in his time. You know, he's not really front facing or anything, but I think he's done a good job.
Sure.
And there was no Miyamoto today. There was no Koizumi today. It was the new class that was on front and center, right? I think that was intentional. But yeah, I would have liked to hear just a couple more things to look forward to. I think that's what it was missing, and it would have made some of this medicine go down better. But yeah, I can't. I said it when they announced the date. I was like, I can't think of a worse day to do this.
Yeah, this is kind of wild.
Actually, I'm going to pull up. I think Japan's open. Before we go, let's just see the damage in Japan. You can hear my tears in real time. Nintendo is down 4.6% in Japan. So the response is not positive over there. But that may have more to do with the economy than this.
Well, that's the economy. What's the Nikkei down?
Probably about the same amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nikkei. Let's see. What is the Nikkei down? Good point. The whole market's down over there. It's down 4%. It's down 4%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's just the market. Yeah.
Yeah. Nintendo's one of the largest components of the Nikkei now. So yeah, it's going to move with the market, but it's not going to move with the S&P, right? So like, it is still somewhat diversified from the shit show that is America, but they do make 80% of their revenue from America and the EU. So stay tuned. We'll be back next week to find out where things are going from here. But we do have more info dumps coming. We're getting Treehouse streams, I believe, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. So there will be more information to come.
I will say thank you for doing the podcast. I know how tough it is to like do this kind of travel and do a whole long day of this stuff. Yeah, so like just really good to get it like fresh.
Yeah, I knew we had to do this today, and I'm actually glad to have your perspective as two viewers of the event as opposed to being in there, because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know that the stream went down or that the audio was off or any of that. That makes all the sense in the world why people would be upset with this. With the audio working, I thought it was actually quite a good direct. I think
it was just a distraction, and you saw like a lot of people were distracted by it. At the end of the day, I think the pricing is taking a lot of wind out of the sails. But once they get their hands on the games, that's going to be the telltale sign.
And that's why they did this. Good. I think that's why they did this Switch Experience tour, John. Like that's a good idea. Get it in front of people. Get it. Put those kiosks up in Best Buy and Walmart and GameStop or wherever. Like get people to play these games. And I doubt anyone's going to say that Mario Kart's bad. I don't think you're going to read anyone say that Mario Kart World is bad.
Sure.
I'm curious what people will say about Donkey Kong. I think they'll like it. But just from watching people play Metroid and the line to play Metroid, I think there's a lot here that makes me optimistic about the future of this system, despite not being optimistic about this year.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm at. But yeah, like I don't want to come off as overly optimistic about things, and I know I have a conflict of interest owning the stock or whatever, but yeah, I
think you're fair in the assessment. I think getting the sense of what we saw, that's just a good sort of rounding it out. You know, because
I saw it. Like I don't trust Twitter anymore. Like I don't think Twitter is a good source of information. So I'd rather hear it from other people, like who I actually care about their opinions. But like, yeah, it's what a horrible day to do this.
Yeah, not great. Yeah, like
a horrible year. A horrible year. This launches a year ago. It's probably $400, and games are probably $70. So like, anyway, it's been a long episode. Yeah, I'm getting the hell out of here tomorrow.
Yeah, dude, thing, man. Definitely looking forward to the coverage on Shaq.
Lots of stuff dropping. So when you hear this podcast, you're going to be 2 hours after the embargo if you made it this far. So check out all of our preview coverage. It's going to be on YouTube, maybe on social, and definitely on shacknews.com. I'm basically going to eat dinner and then spend the rest of my night writing and doing VO. So I'm going to reward myself with this 2 hour for doing this 2 hour podcast by talking more. And then,
looking forward to the coverage for sure.
It'll be good. But yeah, it's fuck. I miss being the home team. Like life is a lot easier when you're just sitting there watching things than when you have to like jostle for people and just. People are not respectful of your space, or if you're filming something, the amount of douchebags that walked in my shot today and just like we have like a bunch of screenshots of these people. I might just put them in the article and just be like, screw this person. Like, I don't know. I'm not meant to be around this many people. I've changed. Like I have. It's been 5 years since I was on the road. I don't like doing it. And I think that rare occasions like this make sense, but also I don't want to get on a plane and travel domestically right now. So I'm the John Madden of games journalism. I took a limo here, and I'm taking a limo back. So yeah, and that's the one thing I will say. This I forgot the baller ass life that I used to live on the road because I've been in Ohio for 5 years.
Yeah, you had the driver and everything. When there was
I had a driver. I'm staying at a nice hotel. Like they upgraded me at the hotel. So I'm in this like sweet ass room.
They want you back.
Yeah, that was exactly what they said. They're like, "Hey, we know this is your first time. We're going to give you a free upgrade." I was like, "Oh, okay." The whole Mr. Khan treatment is happening again, which it's so. I'm so far removed from this, and I'm so far removed from caring about this.
Yeah,
it's just funny. Like for me, it's like, does your room have a toaster? Sweet, 5 stars. But yeah, if I'm getting on a plane, it's to get the fuck out of America. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. Awesome. That'll end the show. Mercifully. I don't know how you're gonna edit this, Joe. Good luck. But yeah, that's the show. I don't fucking know. What a weird fucking world we're in. I'm just glad that like we didn't have a Revolutionary War pop off today because I need to leave New York before that happens.
I mean, New York is not a bad place to be for when the revolution.
It's too crowded. It's too crowded.
Well, that's fair enough.
It is crowded, yeah.
It's just crowded. And there's garbage on the streets at night.
You got to do it. Where else you got to put the garbage?
I get it. People got to get their trash out. I get it.
It's
a sign of how many people are here, I guess. And I live in BFE, Ohio. It's made me appreciate my simple small town life.
Funny.
It has. But and when I move to Japan, I'm going to look for something similar. I am not moving to Tokyo or whatever. But yeah, I am going to try to buy a house with capital gains from Nintendo. So hopefully the stock doesn't crash further tomorrow. But it looks like it will. Because Anyway, end this. I don't know how this show ends, Joe.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Hasmamu Corner. My morning routine starts with my favorite foodie podcast, Shack Together. So thank you, Hasmamu.
Oh my god.
That's
I
nice.
appreciate it. Yeah, like I haven't even looked at this rundown. We just kind of went.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that other guy asking about the Wildgate talk, even though we did talk about Wildgate, I don't know. Big box. Yeah, that's going to do it for today's show. Subscribe on your podcast app of choice and tune in every Friday. But this week, Thursday, for more Shack Together.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God.
We normally have a more organized show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks,
Bye. We'll see you next time. I'll never forget you. Bye.
Bye.
Shack Together is a Shack News production.
Shack Together is a Shack News production.
Shack Together is a Shack News production.
Shack News is a multimedia company consisting of a variety of entertainment properties, including shacknews.com, video game and cutting-edge technology coverage with evergreen video, guide, and long-read content, providing readers and viewers with the latest reviews, previews, interviews, and news. Shack News content is readable and viewable at shacknews.com, Facebook, YouTube at Shack News Interviews, and Shack News VODs, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at Shack News Media, Twitch, and more. But that's not all. You can play Bubbletron, our first video game. Combine 3 ideas, hit the market, and get your money hat. Bubbletron is a daily game in the style of Wordle where players can launch a company and see its valuation instantly. Hit that high score and brag to your friends. Visit Bubbletron.com to play. There is no download required, no signups required. But if you are into app downloads, we have the cutest one on the planet. It's called Shack Pets, the ultimate battle for cuteness. Swipe your pets to victory on iOS and Android in this Tinder-like app for pets. Shack News is proud to present a variety of micro products, all available for free at shacknews.com. Cortex is a publishing platform available to all of our users. Shouts is a Twitter replacement in a time where Twitter really needs replacing. And Reader, an RSS reader that won't get shut down by Google anytime soon. You can import YouTube, subreddits, all sorts of cool stuff, even podcast feeds. And lastly, all of our products are completely free to use and play, so if you're a fan of what we're doing and want to support the Shack News ecosystem, head over to shacknews.com/Mercury. Mercury offers subscribers access to exclusive Shack News swag like hoodies and VIP access to our long reads in downloadable format. It's a great way to support us. There's different tiers, and you get a lightning bolt next to your name.